Hi, good morning. Welcome, everyone. So we're going to have another Technology Tuesday class today. And this is an encore class. You may have seen this class before, but it's very popular and it's pretty awesome. We're lucky to have Jason Strong from Fairfield Media Center here today. And he's going to teach us how to convert your old VHS tapes to DVD fairly cheaply and easily. Anyone can do this. So let's all welcome Jason.
As Michael said, I'm Jason Strong. I'm with the Fairfield Media Center, and I'm the station coordinator or station manager for the channel. And we're going to be talking today about transferring your analog tape to a digital format, whether that be DVD or directly to your computer. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. First thing you guys ought to know is the life expectancy of your analog tapes. They do have a finite time limit. These guys, all sorts of tapes, whether VHS, high 8 millimeter, VHC, or mini DV, all last approximately 20 years under ideal conditions. Now, how many of you guys know that the ideal conditions typically don't exist? So your life expectancy is probably going to be cut down to about 10 to 15. And then, you know, if they're really not kept right, they're going to be even shorter than that. How many people used to have speakers next to their TVs at any point in time? Okay. Did you guys ever get the green hue if you got your speakers too close to them? I know the older TVs used to do that really bad. That's because of the magnets inside the speakers. Now, who had VHS tapes and it's like a storage tower next to their speakers? That's really bad. That will degrade a tape fairly quickly. That's something to be concerned with when storing tapes, and not something they really tell you. Tapes utilize little fragments of iron, and that's what transfers to the tape, and that's what the VCR reads. And so when you put a magnet by it, you're going to pull those iron fragments away from the tape, and it's going to blank out your tape. And so that's something to be concerned with as well. So that's how professionals, when we reuse tapes, we actually run them through a magnet, and that erases them. So that's another condition that you can get into. Again, it also depends on the quality of storage. If you have VHS tapes being stored in an attic, out in the garage, you know, any type of moisture, humidity, any type of that stuff is going to shorten the life of those tapes. So something to be very much aware of. Other thing you need to be aware of when transferring your media is, do you own the rights to that video? All because you went to the store and you purchased the video does not mean you own the rights to duplicate that video. So any store-bought media, that's considered piracy and it's considered illegal. Things that you do own the rights to are home videos. That's just flat out. You own those rights because you're filming family members, you know, things like that. If it's created media, like you decide to do a short film or anything like that, there are copyright laws that you need to be aware of, using somebody else's music, things like that. So, but typically anything you make yourselves, you own the rights to. So,
Jason?
Yeah.
I thought in recent years they said we had the rights to have a backup copy of DVDs. So wouldn't that
Even that's changed with the digital copyright laws. That's why she asked a question about, you know, you have the right to back up a DVD that you purchase. Because of the copyright laws, it's changed a little bit. You might notice that on Blu-rays or your expanded DVDs, a lot of times they say they'll give you a digital copy. So you go to a website, enter in a code, and then you could download a copy of that to your computer. That's the legal way of doing it. That's what they started implementing because they have security that locks down those discs to prevent you from making copies so that you can't resell, redistribute those. There is software that you can get that allows you to bypass that security, but that's illegal because you're deliberately going through the backdoor channels of doing it. Digital copyright laws have gotten almost insanely tight. just because of all the piracy that does happen and go on. So I would be very careful about backing up your DVDs that are store-bought, because that can be considered illegal with the new copyright laws. So, but like I said, most DVDs will provide you a digital copy that's downloadable to your computer. And then that way you have a digital version and then you have your hard copy. All right, how many of you guys seen one of these? The VHS to DVD recorders. How many of you guys have tried to copy a tape to DVD? Okay, one of you? Okay. Was it successful? Okay. Did they work on other machines? Or would they only play back in this device? Okay. One of the most common problems people have with transferring tapes to DVDs with one of these is they forget to finalize the DVD. And if you don't, or if you forget to finalize the DVD, it will only play back on that specific device. It will not play back on any other device. So that's one of the biggest problems people run into with these. Not to mention the instructions can be confusing. They're not always clear if you're not tech savvy. There tend to be a lot of steps involved with it. And like I said, people 9 times out of 10 will forget to finalize the DVD. Now, a lot of people own these. I used to own one of these. My wife used to copy things all the time from our kids growing up, things like that. I never got into it. It just seemed cumbersome. So I'm actually going to show you guys a way of doing it that should be less cumbersome and should give you a better quality copy or transfer in the end. Another thing that you guys probably ought to be aware of is DVDs are dying. It's a dying technology already. It's actually pretty surprising for most people. I mean, they generally say Iowans, we follow about 2 to 3 years behind everybody else as far as trends. But DVDs came out in 1995. Blu-rays followed in 2006. In 2007, not a year after Blu-ray came out, Netflix started streaming video online. That is the number one reason why DVDs are dying. Blu-ray will probably hang on a little bit longer because they're higher capacity, higher quality. But DVDs are standard definition quality. They're not even high definition. So something to be aware of there if you're looking to do an HD. You're not going to get HD out of a DVD. A survey done in 2014, the millennial generation, which happens to be my generation, ages between 18 and 34 years old, 90% of my generation streams their content via the internet. So that means TV shows, news, movies, all of it's coming from online. A lot of my generation, if you ask them, don't have cable, don't even own TVs. So if we do own a TV, chances are we have a computer hooked up to it and we're using it as our monitor. So that way we can stream on a nice big 50-inch TV. So that way we still get the same feeling, but again, we're streaming things, we're not paying as much as people are paying for cable and things like that. So this is definitely a new trend. And considering that 90% of my generation is doing it, says a lot on how quickly that's going to change. So, by the way, that survey was done by CNET, if you guys know what web entity that is. Then if you notice, PC and Apple are both designing computers without optical drives. Optical drives are your DVD drives. Any of your newer computers, unless you're specifically going after one that still has one in it, chances are it won't. So they're either going to force you to buy an external DVD drive in order to have that as an option, or they're going to make you try to change to get away from DVDs. So on a consumer level, they're trying to change our habits to get away from this media already as well. Yes?
I don't have a DVD drive, but that won't tell you to make a startup disk. How are you supposed to do it?
If you don't have a DVD drive and you're wanting to make a startup disk, that's where an external drive you can purchase. They range anywhere from $25 to $100. So
Point is, if somebody didn't have that, didn't know about it, how would they, if their computer crashes, they can't restart it?
it depends how much, in that case, if you don't have a DV drive and you forego that and something happens, that's a risk that you take. That's just the simple truth of it. If you don't want to risk that happening, you're going to have to go out and buy an external drive to do that. Unfortunately, that's just as technology changes, you kind of get, you get forced into doing certain things you may not have done before. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, it does happen. Another recent thing to let you know, not only is PC and Apple designing computers without optical drives, Apple actually just discontinued iDVD, which was their premier DVD software that you could get with your Mac's computers, and they're no longer supporting that software. So even software designers, from that viewpoint, are starting to go away from that stuff. It is getting harder and harder for the consumer to make a DVD or have the DVDs as an option on their computers. So, but again, today I'm going to talk to you about going from tape to your computer, and this will give you a better copy in the end. From that point, depending if you have an external drive and you have the software, you can go ahead and make a DVD from there using software that's you can get for your computer. That's an option for you guys still to be able to do that. It's getting, like I said, it's getting harder to be able to do that because that is a dying technology. But most people nowadays, they're going to be transferring from your tape directly to your computer. You're going to save them on a hard drive. And if you want a backup of that, a lot of people back them up to the cloud, or they'll make a YouTube channel because they're going to want to share these things with their kids or extended family. And that way they can upload them online. They can have them set on a private setting so that the whole world can't see them, but certain individuals can, who they allow. So a lot of people are doing this. This is an ongoing trend. The software we're going to use today is Elgato. I think I'm saying that correctly. It's kind of an odd name. This piece of software runs for about $75 on Amazon, and it works for both PC and Mac, which is really nice because a lot of things tend to be either Mac-based or PC-based. Another one that I've had personal experience with is the Elmker ENMVG3. Runs for about $24 on Amazon. That is a PC-based unit, and it's not as user-friendly as the other one that we're going to be speaking about today, and doesn't have a lot of the options that the one we're going to be speaking about today has. So that's something to consider when you're looking at doing this stuff. How much money do you want to spend? If you're intent on doing it yourself and you want to stay cheap, like I said, you've got the Elmker, there's other models out there that are at that price level or cheaper, whether you go to eBay or Amazon, and whether or not you're PC or Mac based. The other big thing is it can also be very time consuming, depending on how many tapes you have and how much you're wanting to convert, because you have to do it in real time. So if you have a 2-hour tape, it's going to take you at least 2 hours to transfer it. So same way as if you were doing the VHS to DVD direct through one of those units, it's all got to be done in real time. But this piece of software that we're going to be speaking about is actually, I think, one of the best softwares out there. And they don't pay me to say that. That's just my personal experience, and gives you plenty of options, but it's still very, very user-friendly. So first thing I'm going to do is show you how to install this piece of software. Like I said, it's pretty user-friendly. It's not really complicated. First thing you're going to do is, if you do have an optical drive, whether it's external or internal, you're going to go ahead and put your disk in. And it's going to bring up this screen here. And all you got to do is go down here to install software installation. And click on next. We've had this on this particular computer before, but you're basically all you're doing is agreeing that yes, you're going to be installing this. This is where it's going to put it. So your general installation is perfectly fine. There's no malicious software that comes with this software, like you can find, toolbars that you end up downloading, things like that. This is free of all that, which is really nice. All right, then you can go ahead and hit finish. This is the actual unit itself. This is what it looks like, and this is RCA to USB, and that's the USB part's what's going to be plugging into your computer. The RCAs, in this case, I didn't bring a full VHS deck. I'm going to show you guys how to actually do it from a camcorder or any other deck. So if you have a high 8 deck or a VHS deck, the principles are still the same and how we're going to do this. So first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hook this up to your computer. Then you can take your RCAs. Now in this case, this is a breakout cable for my camcorder. Most of the time, if you're going to be doing this from a VCR deck, you're going to have 2 sets of red, yellow, and white wires, male cables on either end. You're going to want to find your output, and it should be labeled video output. You're going to plug one set of those into the back of your VHS deck, and you're going to plug the other set, color-coded, into the actual video grabber. Like I said, this side would normally be the same as this, only be plugged into your VCR. In this case, we're going to be going into my camcorder. This is a mini DV, so it takes little mini tapes. I actually forgot to get my tape out, which I'll do here. I'm going to plug in my breakout cable. This particular tape is one from our archive at the Fairfield Media Center. This particular one has it's an interview with Lee Gobble. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. We're going to turn on our device. Another thing you always want to make sure is your stuff is plugged in. This particular unit, I'm running off battery power, but you always want to make sure, especially if it's your VHS deck doesn't have battery power, you're going to want to have it plugged in. Okay, it says my device is already ready to use. I'm going to select the icon, which it placed on my desktop. This gives you the chance to go ahead and title your movie. And so we're going to call this one Interview with Lee Gobble. And I believe it was done 2004. So that way we have the date, we have the title, we've got a good reference point there. I know this particular video is about an hour long. This allows you to change how long your video is going to be. It does give you some presets. It also gives you a custom that you can select. Or is that on the update? That may be on the updated version. So, but I know this particular one is 90 minutes. With the custom feature on the update, it'll actually allow you to put in your own time. So if you know it's going to be longer, or let's say it's 20 minutes, not 30 minutes, you can put in there, 21 minutes. That way you've got a little bit of lead. And then you can actually walk away from your computer if you need to. And it will stop automatically when it gets to that point. So I don't recommend walking away from your computer necessarily, because depending on the age of your tape, something could happen to your tape where the VCR would eat the tape or something like that, and you would want to be there immediately to stop that to have the least amount of damage happen. From this point, we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Like I said, very, very minimal buttons, very little that somebody can really mess up. It's prompting you to continually move forward with things. At this point, you're going to select whether it's a 4x3 or a 16x9. Chances are, if it's from VHS, you're going to be in the 4x3 format. That was the standard format for your older TVs, a lot of your older camcorders, all that stuff. If you've got a slightly newer one, there is the possibility that if it's a mini DVD or a mini DV, you could be in a 16 by 9 format. It's good to play that back in your device first to know which setting you're going to want. The difference between a 4x3 and a 16 by 9, one is a square, one is a rectangle. So your 16 by 9 is going to be more like your HD. It's going to be more of a rectangle. So we'll go ahead and hit continue. At this point here, I actually like to go ahead and start playing with if I need to change anything. There are options so you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit play on my camcorder. Okay, so it's showing me what my camcorder sees at the moment. Now I'm not worried about the fact that I'm not at the very beginning of it, because I'm going to go through here and show you guys some stuff. Right here we have a preference button. And when we select that, it's going to give us where we can tell it where to save the movies to. So in this particular one, I'm going to tell it to save to my desktop. That way I know very easily where it's located at. Or I could, a lot of computers have a video file already in them. You can tell it to go ahead and throw it into that folder as well. That way you don't have to move it if that's where you want it to go. In this case, I want to go to video and audio. And so I'm going to go to audio first. And you see how these levels, the green lights, and they're about three dots from the end or so. That's actually pretty decent audio level right there. All right, you don't want to max that out because then you're going to start cutting off your audio and it's going to start distorting it really bad. So I'm not going to have to worry about that. But if I wanted to, if you had a camcorder or a tape that had low audio for whatever reasons, maybe the camera was too far away from the person who was speaking, you can go in here and you can up that. You see how now it's hitting the red and it's peaking out? That means it's distorting the audio. So that's something you don't want. So you can always dial that back. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 0 because that was a good place for it. It's not blowing things out and you can still hear it pretty clearly. I know you can't hear it over the computer, but it is. It's perfectly fine as far as the audio. Then we're going to go over to video. And you can see here we've got a couple of different things that we can do. These settings will normally come up as a default or whatever the last video you did, whatever those settings were set at. So I'm going to go ahead and hit default. I'm going to move this over a little bit so I can see what I'm working on video-wise. And it kind of shows you, okay, how clearly can I see this? Are my colors right? Is there anything that's blown out really bad, like overexposed? Your whites are so white that, it's distracting. You can go ahead and change some of that stuff by using these options, the brightness, the contrast. And when you play with these, you'll see, if I hit taking the contrast down and then bring it back up, what it does. So if let's say something was just a little overexposed, then I can dial this back. Or, if it wasn't exposed enough, I can bring it up a little bit. So we do have some settings on here. You can change your saturation. So, let's say things are way too bright like that on your tape. And that's not what you want because the color tones don't look right, Then you can take this saturation and you can dial it back until you feel that that's where the color should be. Typing, you're decreasing some of the hotness out of that color, that intensity. So, but on this particular one, it came out just fine. The person who filmed it did things correctly, so I'm not really worried about that too much. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the defaults. I'm going to click OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to hit continue. Now that brings me to a different screen here. I'm going to go ahead and stop my video. I'm going to rewind it. So that way I can go back to the beginning of it and we can capture correctly. So while that's waiting, there's a few things on here. One, if you don't want to hear the sound, let's say you're doing other things in your house and you don't want to be listening to it while it's recording, you can mute the sound. Now that's not muting the sound on the recording itself, it's just muting your speakers. So you will still have sound with your video if you click that button later on when you go to play it back. But that is an option. Again, the other option here is to automatically stop recording. Remember the time length that we set earlier? So I set it for 60 minutes. Now, if I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch it, type thing while it's doing it, I may have that unselected because then I'm going to stop it when it gets to the end. If I know I'm going to be getting up back and forth, I'm going to go ahead and hit that. So that way when it does get, to the end of it, it will automatically stop on its own. Now, if you happen to set that a little longer than what your tape is, let's say your tape is 55 minutes, you can set that for 60, and you'll be able to trim that off in the next step after it's done recording. So there is that ability to adjust, to trim your video if you don't get it exact. And that's what I'm going to show you guys here with this. So if all I do is I walk over here and I hit play, and then on here there's a red button, and I hit that red button. Now I'm recording. I'm recording exactly what's on that screen. Okay? And as you can tell, I'm recording black. There's a little bit of background noise. Somebody didn't completely blank out the tape before they used it. It fades up, and it starts the interview. Okay? Now, knowing the fact that I can cut this and trim it a little bit at the end, I don't have to be so fickle with it here. I could sit here and just wait until it starts to fade up and then hit record. Type thing. I could sit here and do that and then not have to trim it later. But I want to be able to show you guys that feature here. So that's why I deliberately started it when I did. But we'll go ahead and we'll let this go here for about a full minute. That way we've got about a minute of footage to play with. I don't think, as interesting as this interview is, I don't think we have quite that amount of time to to go through it. So, but yeah, there. We've got a minute, so that we'll go ahead and pretend that this is the end of the video. So it's either going to stop on its own, or I'm going to stop it manually. I'm going to go ahead and stop it manually. Now this section here, and I can go ahead and stop this. That way it doesn't keep going. This is where you can trim your video. So you have a play button here. You can go ahead and hit play, and that'll allow you to preview your video just the way it copied. So like I said, we've got some black here with a little bit of audio, and then it's going to kick in with the video itself. So now we can tell where this is going to start up. So we can move this back here, and we can find that's right before the point where it started to fade into the interview. You see this little arrow down here? That's your trimming tool. And we're at 10 seconds with the blue playback button, so we're going to take that, and we're going to slide this over to 10 seconds. Because we already knew what number that was on. Now, typically on the back, if you had a little, you left some black at the end of your interview, you're going to want to shave that off as well. So you'd play it until you found where it faded back down to black, and you'd take that other one and drag it into there. So now you just trimmed your video. So now you don't have 30 seconds on either end of your video that you got to sit through until you get to the actual part. After that's done, you hit continue. It's going to process it, and it's going to automatically save it to where you told it to save to. And then you can either exit out of the program, or you can hit the again button, and you can start all over from the very beginning. So like I said, now that you already have that now that's a digital file. So I could actually go over here, and I could, if I wanted to say, okay, I want to play it back with Windows Media Player. I could open up Windows Media Player. There it is. That easy, that simple. But now I can take this file, and if I really wanted to, I could put it onto a DVD. Like I said, with the proper software and with a DVD drive. So that's still a viable option. Other than that, like I said, you can upload it to YouTube. You can upload it to an online storage cloud as a backup. You can back it up to a jump drive. There's all sorts of things that you can do now that it's in that digital format. So, like I said, and it's going to be a higher grade copy. Because typically what's going to happen, since DVDs are a dying technology, you're going to take this, you're going to put it to DVD, and in another 5 to 10 years, you're going to have to transfer that again. Okay? Because now you don't have DVD players. So you don't have anything that you can play them back on. As a digital file, computers aren't going anywhere. They're around for the long haul. So you're not going to have to worry about having to switch that over to another medium after you do this. So once it's backed up and you have a copy of it, whether it's on your computer and you back it up to another, storage unit of some sort, you typically don't have to worry about it. So, but that does open a lot of options for you guys as far as what you want to do with it and how you want to share it. So, any questions?
Yeah, so Jason, so what you're getting though is just the analog quality, or is it actually up?
You're asking the question of, will you still get analog quality or will it upscale the quality? It will not upscale the quality, but it will give you the best quality that you can get from that transfer. So whatever condition your tape is in, that's the quality you're going to transfer it. But typically it's still going to be very much a standard definition quality, and then depending on the tape quality itself. If you record it onto a very cheap tape, if you only spent $1 for that tape, you may not have as good quality even on that tape as you would if you spent $7 on that tape. There is a quality difference just in the medium itself even. So that's something to be aware of. But you will get the best quality coming from that analog tape to your computer. That is possible. So, like if you were to go to DVD and then you want to bring it over to your computer and pull it off of that DVD, now you're making a copy of a copy. So anytime you make a copy of a copy of a copy, you're losing quality each time you copy it. So this will give you that one-time copy that's going to be the best possible. So, yes, sir.
What is the file extension on that digital file?
This particular, the file extension on the file itself is going to be an MP4. I think some other ones will allow you to change whether it's an MPEG, an MPEG 2, or an MP4. Another thing to notice, this will also let you do audio. So if you have an audio cassette, you can plug it in only using the audio connections instead of the video connection and be able to transfer the audio that way as well. So most video grabbers will allow you to do audio as well. Any other questions? All right, if there's no more questions, then I'll go ahead and let Mike wrap things up.
So thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jason. And Jason, you also have a service where you do this in case you folks don't want to go through all this. Right?
Through Strong Studios, which is my private self business, I do media transfers. I do have professional decks that I can do. I do kind of a range of media, whether it's VHS, high 8, mini DV, those type of tapes I can do. And like I said, I've got cards. You can contact me through the Fairfield Media Center. We're not providing that service directly through the Media Center yet. It is a service that I hope to be able to provide at some point hopefully in the near future. Right now, a lot of our time is spent trying to archive our analog tapes that we've had for over the last almost 20 years. Some of them are actually getting to the point now where we may not be able to save them all. So that's why it's very important to transfer your media before it degrades. So.
And again, let's go ahead and give Jason a round of applause.
Thank you. Appreciate it.